Theme songs were all the rage in the last century and were used a fair amount in the aughts and tenties before slowly being phased out because of changing business, media distribution, and advertising models in the television industry. But for those of us who grew up with television series that had theme songs that were more than a title card and a quick instrumental jingle, we understand how impactful these musical snippets can be in immersing us into our favorite fictional world and capturing the essence of a television series before we even get to experience the first act of any given episode. In this case, let's take a look at Charmed to see if the theme song chosen for the 1998 fantasy drama resonates with the show, its themes, and its overarching narrative. The song. How Soon Is Now has most likely played on the radio at some point in your life, because I can tell you right now that a lot of your parents, heck, at this point, grandparents, were most likely fans. Except they were definitely listening to the original The Smiths version. For Charmed, the theme song utilized the Love Spit Love cover version that every Charmed fanatic is obsessed with, to the point that they call out the Season 8 home media release regularly, as it had swapped out the beloved tune with an instrumental that doesn't necessarily vibe thematically with the show. But does How Soon Is Now? Let's explore that question. Lyrics. When it comes to the lyrics, there are only 5 lines that we have to work with because the theme song runs between 48 to 51 seconds. Yeah, the 90s were a wild time. I am the sun and the air. The word son in this case is being used in the biblical sense of man, where the terms man and son are inclusive of all of humanity regardless of sex and gender. In addition, son also serves as a word for offspring. Heir implies there is an inheritance of some sort that is occurring, and it is up to us as the audience to determine what this inheritance is by piecing together information provided to us by the show. Once we analyze this within context, it's clear that the song's story is being told from the sister witch's perspective, where they acknowledge that there are offspring who have inherited their witchcraft, the good and the bad that comes from it, from their ancestral line. In regards to the entirety of the show, being the son and the heir to witchcraft serves as both a gift and a curse to the sisters, as it's seen as one of the long-running themes of the show. We see Phoebe be the first of her family to embrace her heritage and wield her powers proudly throughout all 8 seasons of the show, even though she gets what can be considered one of the weakest powers in terms of offense. We see Prue resist, but then take responsibility of her gifts and the good she can do with them during the first 3 seasons, and we see Piper struggle throughout the show with her inheritance, which leads to her life of normalcy getting disqualified, and it even ends up costing her a sister in this process. And while yes, I understand that Phoebe too lost a sister along with Paige, who we will talk about momentarily, Piper's grief appeared to far outweigh that of her sisters and was frankly showcased more throughout the series. And finally, with Paige, we see her putting in the time and effort to learn about her dual heritage as a witch and whitelighter, to catch up to her sister so that her family and Charmed One bond can never be broken again. I am human and I need to be loved. This line quite literally humanizes the sister witches in the eyes of the viewer, helping us relate to their struggles in the face of everyday adversities, and is consistent with the themes and messaging of the show. Because while the sisters are witches, they are humans first, and henceforth have a need to be loved, instead of being seen as the monsters we are raised to believe witches are. This plays a role in the entirety of the show, with several episodes and story arcs being focused on Phoebe's love life, and varied long-term love interests, including Cole, Jason, Leslie, Drake, Dex, and Coop, as she refuses to believe she can't find someone to love and be loved by just because she is a charmed one. We also explore her sisterly love with her return to the Hallowell Manor in the pilot, with examples that stand out including her fixing her relationship with Prue in regards to a misunderstanding courtesy of Roger, and her letting go of chasing after love interests that take a liking to Piper, leaving her shyest sister to explore her confidence. Speaking of Piper, she finds the love of her life in Leo, but also finds herself in situations where she feels it's too difficult to love and be loved when the dangers of the magic that helped them find each other are also the cause of disruption for the pair. We later explore Piper's journey into motherhood and what love means when there are children to raise, especially when a lack of love and attention can lead to dire consequences for future Wyatt and Chris. After all, a human has to give love to get love. Paige's need to be loved manifests in acceptance from her family, which is a tumultuous ride considering her existence implies that destiny may have fated for Piper and Phoebe to lose Prue in order to welcome her into the fold, often leaving her to be seen as an outsider by the sisters, who are hesitant but ultimately accepting of their half-sister as the years go by. Prue's connection to this line is even more tragic, as she not only loses her soulmate by the end of Season 1, but loses herself by the end of Season 3, never having found the love of the mother she lost when she was young, struggling to love a dad who himself mirrored her struggles when it came to loving his 3 daughters, and loving her sisters and championing their safety more than her own well-being. Whoever chose this theme song had the power of premonition for real, just like everybody else does. This drives a previous point home and helps us understand that though we may only be able to allegorically deal with the literal demons the charmed ones face regularly, it doesn't change the fact that their problems are just like everybody else's, albeit with magical embellishments. We empathize with not only them, but can also apply our learnings to other people we interact with in the real world who may have different beliefs and approaches, but are humans looking for love and acceptance at the end of the day. The charmed ones often do want life to be magic-free, even faking their deaths at one point so they can live normal lives just like everybody else. It's not until they find a balance between protecting the innocent and living their own lives over the course of 8 seasons that they are able to accept the good and the bad that comes with their identity and heritage. It's not that they're less human than anyone else, it's just that their circumstances can make them doubt their right to be loved at the end of the day because of how cruel their existence can be with magic around. See, I've already waited too long, and all my hope is gone. I've pieced these 2 lines together for the sake of comprehension in relation to what we've understood about the show and how the theme song relates to it so far. Like the point I made previously, these verses tell us about the good and the bad we inherit, whether it's powers, family drama, assets, sibling rivalry, etc., and the love we hope to have one day, whether it's from family, a partner, etc. Because finding a balance can take too long, it can feel like one's hope is gone because of the learnings and losses one has experienced on their journey, leaving these lines as an outcry of overwhelming devastation. In the charmed one's case, they are kept in the dark about their inherited powers for decades, which leads to them having to play catch-up, which can seem hopeless, especially when the demons they face have had far more practice. In fact, their lack of powers from a younger age leads to hope being gone on numerous occasions, with a primary example being Prue's death at the hands of Shax. Had Prue had practice with her powers from a young age, her instinct would have been to telekinetically move her innocent out of harm's way as a witch would, instead of pushing him out of the way as a mortal would. Piper especially finds herself in hopeless situations because her Grams waited too long to instate their powers, from trying to marry the love of her life to grieving the loss of her sister to having to welcome another one into the fold. And Phoebe, also having lost a sister to powers she unleashed from their bind, finds her magic unfitting to her expectations, with more offensive powers manifesting in later years such as flight and empathy, which would have been given to her at an earlier age had she had the ability to practice her magic. Paige's story arc often revolves around imposter syndrome, with Destiny having forced her to wait too long to find her siblings, and never meet one of her sisters, playing catch-up with magic where she feels like an outsider when compared to Saint Prue, and meeting her White Lighter father, Witch Mother, Grams, and an extended family of what could be considered as a stepfather in Victor. And even though the theme song ends on such a dejecting note in the title sequence, it hooks in the audience and gives us something to root for. Even though the charmed ones have the odds stacked against them, we still hope to see that by the end of their journey, they're successful in their pursuits of saving the world without missing out on the human experience to live, laugh, and love. And as any Charmed fan will tell you, the series finale serves as one of the best conclusions of any long-running television series out there, with the added fact that by the end of that episode, all of the ideas brought up by the theme song are explored and resolved. All in all, the Charmed theme song is an ideal fit for the show that lyrically captures the struggles faced by the charmed ones, as well as their long-running story arcs and character motivations. A round of applause for whoever chose this to represent the series, and a shout out to the fans for embracing it for the true work of art that it is. I really hope moving forward, we see more TV shows embracing having theme songs that run for 48 seconds to 51 seconds, just like they used to back in the day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video. Make sure to follow for more media analyses, unboxings, memes, and more.